January 2nd, 1966. The NFL Championship game at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Going into this game, the key was whether or not either team could effectively handle the other team's stout rushing attack. The Green Bay Packers defense gave up the second most rushing yards in the NFL, while the Cleveland Browns, with their NFL MVP running back Jim Brown, gained the most rushing yards in the NFL. As they say, something had to give. Browns kicker Lou Groza was playing in his 9th championship game and had played in 9 NFL All-Star games in his career. He's one of 16 future Hall of Famers who played in this game. Tom Moore returned the opening kickoff to the 23-yard line. On 3rd down and 7, Bart Starr hit fullback Jim Taylor for a first down. Then Starr connected with halfback Paul Hornung for another first down. All 3 players are Hall of Famers. Carroll Dale was traded from the Rams for linebacker Dan Curry prior to the start of the 1965 season. He only had 20 catches and 2 touchdowns in 1965, but he was a big play receiver. His 18.9 career yards per catch is excellent, and from 1968 through 1970, he made All-Star and Pro Bowl teams. At the time of his retirement, his 438 catches were the 13th most all-time, and his 8,277 receiving yards were the 6th most. The final game of his career was Super Bowl VIII. He started for the Vikings, but didn't catch a pass. Cleveland struck back on a 30-yard pass play to Jim Brown over the outstretched arms of linebacker Dave Robinson. Middle linebacker Ray Nitschke put the finishing touches on Brown. Quarterback Frank Ryan threw a dart to Paul Warfield, and the Browns were on the Packers' 17-yard line. Next, Ryan and second-team All-Pro flanker Gary Collins lit up the scoreboard. Collins caught 10 touchdowns on 50 receptions during the regular season. For his career, he caught 70 touchdowns on 331 receptions. 1 every 4.7 catches, which is phenomenal. Most of Collins' catches were on post routes, but on this play he broke his pattern to the outside instead and left Herb Adderley far behind. Guard John Wooten consulted with head coach Blanton Collier. The 6'2", 235-pounder made the All-Star team in 1965 and 1966. Frank Ryan threw a safe hitch pass to Paul Warfield, and Doug Hart made a sure tackle to limit his gain. Jim Brown met defensive end Willie Davis head-on and was stopped in his tracks. On 3rd down and 2, Frank Ryan went for it all, but narrowly overthrew Paul Warfield. The Browns brought on 41-year-old Lou the Toe Groza, and he successfully kicked a 24-yard field goal out of a mud pit to give Cleveland the lead, 9-7. Paul Hornung ran for 34 yards on this play. Compliments of number 64, Jerry Kramer's spine block. Hornung ran 18 times for 105 yards. Bart Starr kept the Browns' defense honest, when he threw to 6'5", 225-pound end Boyd Dowler, who caught 5 passes for 59 yards. From there, the Packers pounded it out on the ground, but had to settle for a 15-yard field goal. Not having much luck with the running game, Frank Ryan tried a pass, but he threw far too late, and Bob Jeter deflected it. Jeter was a wide receiver for 2 seasons with Green Bay, but was converted to cornerback in 1965. This was perhaps the key play in the game, as Willie Wood jumped in front of Leroy Kelly and returned the ball inside the Browns' 10-yard line. Willie Wood made first-team All-Pro in 1965 at free safety with 6 interceptions. The Packers signed him as an undrafted free agent in 1960. He was USC's quarterback from 1957 through 1959 and ran 124 times against 147 pass attempts. Cornerback Herb Adderley also made first-team All-Pro on the basis of 6 interceptions for 175 yards and 3 touchdowns. In 1961, the Packers drafted Adderley in the first round. On first down, Horning jumped the snap of the ball, and the Packers didn't recover from his illegal procedure penalty, and 3 ensuing passes fell incomplete. Enter kicker Don Chandler. He connected on a 23-yarder. He played in the first 2 NFL overtime games, the 1958 NFL Championship game and the 1965 Western Conference Playoff game. On 3rd down and 2, Green Bay finally stopped the Browns' sweep play, and Cleveland was forced to punt. This was the last game that Jim Brown played with the Browns. He led the NFL in rushing yards for the 8th time in 9 seasons, and also led with 17 rushing touchdowns, 1,872 yards from scrimmage, and total touchdowns with 21. He made first-team All-Pro for the 8th time, and won the NFL MVP award for the 3rd time. On 3rd down and 2 on his own 11-yard line, Starr called a play-action pass with a fake handoff to Taylor and a throw to Horning, but it was a poor one and intercepted by Walter Beach. On first down, Frank Ryan tried to catch the Packers off guard with a long pass to Gary Collins that just missed. Ray Nitschke blitzed, flushed Ryan out of the pocket, and Dave Robinson cleaned up. Here's the story of this game. The Browns only had 8 first downs all game with only 64 rushing yards and a 3.56 yards per carry. Green Bay had 21 first downs, 204 rushing yards, and a 4.3 yards per carry. Browns punted after the second half kickoff. Gary Collins averaged an even 46 yards on 4 punts. Elijah Pitts lost 11 yards by running the wrong way. Horning and Taylor pounded away at the Browns with the Packers' terrific ball control offense. As good as Horning and Taylor looked, both were on the downside of their careers. For Horning, 1966 was his final season of play, and for Taylor, 1965 was the first season in the last 6 that he didn't rush for at least 1,000 yards. As the playing conditions grew continually worse, Gary Collins was tackled like a steer by Herb Adderley. Although Jim Brown did not hold on to the slippery ball on this play, he accounted for 94 of Cleveland's 161 net yards of offense. Cleveland was forced to try a field goal attempt, but number 74 Henry Jordan sliced between Walter Johnson and John Brown and got a hand on Groza's kicked ball. Green Bay carried a 20-12 lead into the fourth quarter. Somehow Bart Starr kept his footing and launched a strike to Boyd Dowler. Starr completed 10 of 18 passes for 147 yards and a touchdown. Jim Taylor slipped through the mud for 6 of his 96 hard-earned yards on 27 carries. A 29-yard field goal attempt by Don Chandler was true, and it gave the Packers a comfortable lead. Or was it? Leroy Kelly nearly took this kickoff the distance, but was rounded up by none other than Packers kicker Don Chandler. The Browns' offense sputtered, punted, and their defense pinned the Packers deep in their own territory.